Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 13th day of April 2020. Well, we're almost to the middle of the month, aren't we? How'd that happen? I don't know about you, but being home like this, I mean, we're home anyway, so it's not that different other than we have to be protected when we go up to the mailbox or to the grocery store or something like that. I mean, realistically, and we're ordering more stuff in. I mean, we go out every 2 weeks, and that's it. So, which really, I mean, we don't really need to go out any more than that anyway. I mean, most of the time it's just by choice, because we want something. So it's really not that different around here right now for us. So that's one blessing. But it's just the idea of it, I guess, that where you can't see people up close. You can't really, it's so people I think are probably going through varying, levels of frustration and just, I don't know, you kind of want to break free. I think that the astrology was that way last week. Some of it's that way today too. The moon's in the eighth house of Capricorn. Focus on routine and structural issues. Invest your time wisely. Sometimes, right now, even though it just may seem like you have all the time in the world, it's time you can't get back either. So make sure that although, you're kind of freewheeling it right now, just try to do it in a way that's safe and healthy and all of that. So it's kind of, think about it in terms of that type of investment, not necessarily money. Although the eighth house can deal with that. It's just, how are we investing our time right now? Are we doing it in a way that's keeping our spirits up? Or it's that type of investment, I think, that they're really talking about, especially paired with the moon. Moon in conjunct Venus. Love life might be a little unsettled right now. In other words, things just might be tense. It's just a cycle is all. It's just, if you look at a biorhythm chart, you see sine waves that do this. It's the same thing. It's just about the energy of our day and the energy of our self within it. And sometimes they're not, we're more sensitive or what have you. So just step back and don't take the bait and try again in a while, give it a moment or two or three, before you go into World War III with your partner or something. So Sun, 11th house Aries, this may be part of why you might be wanting to take the bait. Self-assertion's fine, but don't let impulses get the better of you here today. Again, reassess social connections and goals, discuss that, with friends at a distance safely. The Sun square Jupiter, also keep your ego under control and avoid arrogance. That's going to help you with the moon in conjunct Venus, no doubt. Sometimes we can get pushy with our own opinions, our own perceptions and whatever, and what we want. And sometimes you got to realize that everybody's in the same boat right now, and everybody's got to give a little extra, and express some gratitude to one another. That always helps. Sun square Pluto, stress from self-isolation and worry, could find expression in nervous energy. So, find a physical outlet, but don't overdo it. That'd be another thing you don't want to do. Mercury, 11th house Aries, intuition is strong. You're going to want to, it's 11th house, you're going to want to explore interactions with others, but of course online or over the phone. Mercury conjunct Chiron is a strong aspect today. Painful, right now people are going through painful experiences. Sometimes people, loved ones, maybe a spouse has died or a parent has died through this. And so I think the idea here is to not turn away from the pain or the truth of the pain of why it's happening. Whereas, you don't want to be so focused on it that that's all you see. At the same time, this is a difficult time. And so it's not going to do anybody any good to just treat it as a speed bump, because it's not. And so, whereas it can be a source of pain, it can also be a source of healing. So don't be afraid to let the memories come with those maybe that you may have lost, because that's going to sustain you, believe it or not. It really will. Allow the love to replace the sadness. Allow compassion and for both self and others. You know, express that. You know, but by all means, don't avoid the truth. It doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't. It might seem so in the beginning, but realistically, it doesn't. Mercury squares north and south nodes of the moon. New information could come today, or maybe a younger person could come your way, and either online you might talk to somebody, and it might stimulate something. A sense of fate is happening right now, particularly with the south node, but that fate's going to take us in a positive direction at some point here. So again, this is difficult, and it's going to be a time of great struggle for people, especially if you've lost someone. So just try to be there for people right now, and hold their hand, virtually, if you can, because they need you. Venus 12th house Gemini, reflect today. Nurture the feminine side. Again, show compassion to others if you need to, if they need it. Trine Mars with Venus. Senses are heightened today, so be aware. Mars, 9th house Aquarius, still original thinking, still this week. Today, take a spiritual approach. Mars square Uranus, though, we're going to want to resist impulsive action. And whatever challenges that are happening that make you feel a little impulsive, then try to find an innovative way to work through it instead of responding to the impulse. Because again, we need to remain vigilant on the self-isolation measures. We're not there yet, apparently, to where we can just go about as we please. Jupiter 8th house Capricorn, here we're showing a little bit of restraint today. We're trying, again, it's about where we invest our time, and just make sure that you're doing it in a way that's healing and supportive of both self and others. Saturn 9th house Aquarius, or excuse me, conjunct, well, it's still in effect. Jupiter conjunct Pluto. We can accomplish anything. We just need to do it with integrity. Okay, I think that sometimes people can take the easy way out, and that's just not. So it's usually at the disadvantage of someone else, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So just show some, while you're being innovative, at least do it with integrity. Last thing we need to be doing is taking from anyone right now. Uranus, 12th house Taurus, still open to change and new experiences. Profound change is coming. The semi-square with Neptune is still there. It's a weakened influence, but it's still there. And we've been talking about it for some time, ever since it was a really strong influence. It seems to be as more and more awareness of who the con artist in charge is, then you understand that it's a con. And I think it's weakening now, but I think it's been there long enough that the deception in the current government administration, federal government, that they have done things to the point that people are just, people have died as a result. That's what they're going to find out. When you delay the reaction, the response to this, when you don't give the supplies to the hospitals that they need, when you don't take care of the country in a situation like this, and you delay it for 3 months, well, of course, So there was a New York Times article out, I guess. I don't subscribe to it. So if any of you do, if you can read it, it's going to elaborate a little bit more on all of the nonsense that went on and the lack of response that's resulted in people's death. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about Uranus semi-square Neptune and guarding against deception, or the long played con. That's what this whole thing has been about, to con the country into taking us to a place that puts us between a rock and a hard place, basically, in terms of our freedom and in terms of our success, all of it, and all while saying they're doing the opposite. But you see, that's the fundamental nature of a con artist. They're going to make you think something is true when the opposite is. And so they're going to send you down this rosy garden path thinking, oh, this and that's going to happen. But oh no, you get down there and you discover that you were lied to. And you feel foolish, but unfortunately you shouldn't, because, you know, just because you believed a con artist, it just means that they were good, right? I mean, sure, maybe you also might have to deal with a little gullibility, or if you're someone who's consistently easily led, then sure, you could argue that. But otherwise, no, the vast majority of the people that believed him thought he was telling the truth. You can't fault yourself for that. Sure, you might have to rethink things and say, yeah, I didn't do right there, but that's all you do. You don't take responsibility for what he did. It's not your fault. You didn't do it. He did. It's that kind of situation. That's what a con artist is. But they want you to believe that, you know, you let them do it. So I guess we're the ones that are supposed to have the checks and balances on a criminal's behavior? No, it's the criminal that needs to have the checks and balances on the criminal's behavior. They miss that point, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, Neptune's still in the same place, 11th house Pisces. It's going to be an inner focus today. Maybe spiritual focus, maybe join a meditation group or something like that, online, virtually. YouTube's got a lot of great meditations out there. I think that, I mean, pick one, doesn't matter, you know. Get yourself in the or just listen to some music and meditate. Spend some quiet time, you know, and clear your mind, clear your thoughts, and just allow things to come to balance. Let's see. Oh, last one. Important here, though, it's Pluto. Pluto is really transformative. But right now, you know, we're wanting to be, I talked earlier about how we can go in cycles and all of this is in waves, and we're wanting to get out of this whole self-isolation mode, and we might want to break free, but we can't, right? And so we're going to feel a little frustrated about the fact that we can't be united with people right now. So you've got to do it online or over the phone or whatever. Share resources, though, if possible, but do it in a way that's safe, all right? So say maybe your neighbor is out of something, you know, and you know that, and you have a whole bunch, and you can afford to share some of it. So then what you do is you know, tap on their window if you don't have their phone number, and you wave, and you hold up the butter, and you set it on the porch, and you go back to your house. Okay? If you've got an elderly neighbor who or relative that needs you to go to the store for them, you can do that too. You know, it's about, you know, in that case, you're sharing the resource of your vehicle and your time to go and do something for someone else. And so lots of ways to do that right now in a way, but you've got to do it safely. Okay, just do it safely. So I guess that's it for the astrology. I mean, realistically, we're sort of in the same wave energy-wise, where we're still trying to figure all this out, but I think we've gotten enough of it. We've done enough of this now that maybe a routine is setting in, and, you know, and before you know it, we're going to have a little more freedom to move about, but I just don't know if we're going to be, you know, doing it without masks and gloves for a while. So anyway, and please do that. You know, make your own masks, do whatever you got to do. I don't care what it looks like. I saw one guy with a glass lid for a pot, you know, with a metal handle, and he had a hoodie on. He was an old guy, and he had it over his face. And he had the hoodie cinched down all around the glass pot, the glass lid, rather. I actually have some of those, but mine have longer sides on them, so I don't think I could do that. My husband's like, oh, look at that. Like, no, you're not doing that. I made him masks. I mean, just wear them. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the cards for today. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're coming back, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone who comes here and spends this time. Well, I do this 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and I do a little astrology, talk about what's going on there, and then we'll go ahead and take 3 cards. We'll take a little more if we need some, but usually it's just 3. Once in a while it's 4. A couple times it was 5. Those were crazy days, but mostly I'm just trying to get maybe a little more information about one of the cards, or okay, so we're doing this, but what's that really about? It's that kind of thing, and then we'll draw another card. When we're done with that, though, we're going to move to a rune from the Elder Futhark bag, and then we'll close out with a geomancy rune. So let's go ahead and get started. And we'll take our first 3 cards, and I will take the 13th one each time for randomness sake. I don't usually do that in normal readings, but for this I do. Assuming I can work my cards. Well, we have the Ace of Pentacles to start us off. So you're talking about something, a genesis of something new. Aces are the genesis of something new. They're said to contain all of the elements of the suit in just. I mean, the ace is a one energy, and so you're talking about wholeness and unity and completion and all of that. So again, something new is on the home front. See if we can figure out what. Well, swift action, the 8 of Wands. So something is happening today. Wands is the fire element. It's our will. Pentacles is the earth element, or our physical expression. It's also the human. It's human himself, herself. Sometimes we think about our surroundings, our work, our home, our legacy, the Akashic record. I was going to say transition, but that's not what I'm looking for. I can't think of the word. It escapes me. But you're talking about mostly your physical aspects of life, But that said, it can also just mean the person themselves. So maybe a change in how we see our home, ourself, our surroundings, maybe work. Things are changing, maybe something new is on the horizon there. But we'll talk about that. Here we have the 2 of Pentacles. So we're having to make a choice or a decision. Emotions are involved. So we can either start with the 8 first, or, and yes, I touched my face, but I washed my hands. Oh my God. Can you stop doing that? I can't. I just can't. I'm gesturing. I don't know. I have the worst time with that. And so I wash my hands a lot now, and I'm home. I don't go anywhere. And no one comes here other than, the mailman or she's a lady usually, or the freight people, whichever one, FedEx or UPS or whoever. That's all the connection we have anywhere now. We don't talk to people. I'm never around anybody. They're not on my property. They're not in my home. So it's just me and my husband. I don't know. So we get a little lax maybe, but he doesn't. He washes his hands like every 5 minutes. I don't know, but he doesn't like stuff on his hands. Of course, he's also fixing the tractor right now, and so he's greasy and he doesn't like that. So anyway, well, he was a mechanic. I don't know. So he's used to it. You before you touch something, you go wash your hands. So anyway, for him, I think it's a little bit easier. For me, it's not. But in any event, right now we've got a 1 energy for the reading. 8 and 2 is 10, and 10 reduces to 1. Excuse me, we don't. We have an 11. I forgot the ace. We could look at it as 2, but why would we? If we just add it together, we've got 10 and 1 is 11, so we won't. That's a master number for illumination. So And then 22, the year that we're in right now, is 2020 reduces to 22. And so we're talking the cosmic builder, which is the most powerful number we have. It's soul level manifestation. And so I think that what we're seeing right now, all of these earth changes, all of these physical changes, all of the stress, all of the vitriol, all of the craziness of the last few years, we're leading to this moment of profound change. You know, I said back then when the election happened that when I could come up for air, because it took me about 3 months. This affected me so profoundly. And I think that what we're seeing here today in the cards is maybe a new path forward. Some decisions have to be made, some swift action has to take place, but we have to have a different perspective now and a new way forward in terms of our lives. And I said back in the beginning, back in 2016, that that what happened was likely due to the fact that we needed to learn something. We needed to learn something about ourselves. We needed to learn something about the collective consciousness that we're all part of, who we are in relationship to one another. I mean, would you have ever expected to see essentially detention camp? Well, they're detention camps on our border. If you don't want to bring someone into the country, then don't let them in the country. Don't stick them in a place where taxpayers then have to pay for it, right? And now they're not allowing them to have any. I mean, they're not safe from the virus. Would you have ever thought that would happen in this country, especially after it did before with the Japanese internment camps? Never thought that anything like that would happen again. And yet we see similar expressions all of the time. But right now, you know, that you could maybe extrapolate and say, oh, yeah, that's really what's going on there. I mean, prison is you know, the kinds of people that are going to prison for the kinds of things that they've done make no sense. Cannabis crimes are one of them, right? Cannabis should have never been illegal. The number of people in jail right now, in effect, are prison slaves. It essentially is what we have there. That's an industry. So they need people to feed the industry and to fill it, right? So that's what I mean by, you know, detention camps and using people in ways that we shouldn't be. That ignore the sovereignty of the individual. I mean, did you ever think that we would see crimes being committed one after the other from the moment he took office? Would you have ever imagined that we would see it in real time and one party refuse to do anything about it? Would you have ever thought that you could see that here in this place? Well, we've been headed here for a long time. So, of course, we would see something like that here with the right, you know, configuration of people. You bet, because that's what's gone on. So, I think I'm going to start with the ace. And I think right now, as we're seeing, we have a pandemic. He won't fund the post office. A few years back, what was it, in 2006, Republicans decided in Congress, when they had the power to do, they had control over everything, they decided to go and say and require the post office, because they don't ever want the post office, right? They want to privatize it all, make money, right? They don't want the post office, never have. And so what they want to do is they decided that the post office had to fund 75 years into the future all the pensions. Who does that? See, they're trying to create a scenario where the post office fails, where the post office needs all. So now we're all buying stamps. So if you can, log on to USPS, go to their store, and buy some memorabilia or buy some sheets of stamps. I bought 2. I bought spooky silhouettes. Do that. Someone said that if every adult in the country did that, bought 1 sheet for like whatever, I mean, it depends on what you get. I think mine were $11 a piece, so $22. I spent that. Now, if everybody did that, we would raise over $2 billion for them. My God, do it. I mean, do it. Do something, right? So I did. And that's what people are saying. Go do that. So I did. And so should you. Just do it. Go buy a sheet of stamps. You'll get them in a month or so, I think is what it said, because there's a big backlog. But so what? It keeps them afloat because the Republicans will not. For some people, rural areas, you don't have anything but you don't have anything but the Postal Service because the freight companies won't go out there. It's too far. So this is what I'm saying. The pandemic, can you imagine that they weren't on it right away? Can you imagine he waited 3 months to do anything? And now he's tweeting things about firing Fauci? Are you kidding me? He's retweeting people. You see, something is so messed up right now that people are dying because of it. So, no. We have to do something different. And I think that the last years since the election have been demonstrating to us every single day why that's true. Okay? So that's, and I, oh my, I had to go to bed the night of the election. I couldn't watch the results because I knew what was going to happen. I'd known for some time, and I couldn't take it. I didn't look at the news. I finally 3 months later could start looking at headlines, or maybe 2 months later I could look at headlines, but I couldn't open anything. I can't hear his voice. I can't. It's horrible. Being an empath, I'm telling you, with this guy, being a survivor with this guy, it's nutty. He triggers everything, and when you understand what he is, yeah, we need a profound change. We need a change in how we see things. And the Ace of Pentacles can do that. We see a hand reaching out from the clouds with a coin, a large pentacle, basically, a large coin, and offering new foundation, new structure. Sometimes it indicates a new job. Right now, we need a new path, and it shows it right down there, doesn't it? You see the greenery either creating the wall or around the art. It's probably a rock wall, but greenery around it. We see the greenery over the archway. And through that, you can see the mountains, so we know that things are going to be difficult. There's going to be a bit of a struggle and a bit of a transition as we move into some kind of form of shared purpose with one another, because that's what's needed, to remember self in others instead of seeing the other, see the other side of self, because that's what we all are collectively. When we're not in these bodies, seemingly separate bodies, we're all collectively one energy. So we may fragment out pieces of our, main soul signature or oversoul into other kinds of, lifetimes and experiences. But make no mistake about it, we're all one. We're all part of the Creator's whole experience, the Great Mother breathing out life. We're the Great Mother's breath. That's what we are. So to see ourselves as separate from one another or at odds with one another is so sad, because we could accomplish so many wonderful things together if we would just drop all of that and see one another, as family. And no, we don't always like family, do we? Sometimes we get irritated at someone, and that's fine. Maybe we don't like what someone said or did or whatever. That's fine, but it doesn't mean that we walk away from them, right? We don't do that. So now that something new is on the horizon, a new path is forming, decisions have to be made. I'm going to stand on one foot to do it. But you can see the lemniscate, that indicates cycles, it's the constant this and that, back and forth, that up and down, all of it. But this is about finding our way through a ground floor experience that we need to make a different decision about how we do that. It's really tough when maybe you have a neighbor that is just vile, okay? Maybe they've done things to you over life, over your time living next to them. And you have it's a struggle, isn't it, to want to reach out to that person in a time of need to help them. But this is the time to do that. And maybe demonstrate to that other vile person that maybe they don't need to be vile to get what they want, that maybe they can just be nice and be friends. right? And that when things get real, right, you're there for them. People like that will remember that. And maybe you'll see a shift, right, in the way they think about things vis-a-vis you. And maybe when this is all said and done and life, we begin anew, basically, because I don't think we're going to go back to where we were. Some businesses will never reopen again. You can't do this to them. If the federal government's not going to make sure they're still there like they should be doing, they might not be. And that's not okay, right? It's not okay. People put their life into something like that. And when it fails, especially for something like this, in a country as rich as ours, to not take care of those small businesses, to leave them out in the cold when you are only willing to self-deal to your own businesses or to the 1%. Oh, no, 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 no. That's not what this is supposed to be about. And that's what I mean. If it doesn't happen that way, then we're going to have to do something else so that should this sort of thing ever happen again. Because all you have to do is take a look at Puerto Rico and you'll see the truth of this man right there. But right here, emotion is involved. You see the waves, pretty big waves, aren't they? So whatever decision we're having to make about our physical structure is emotional. Maybe we're coming to a realization that we've been our own worst enemy and that we've caused maybe the circumstances, not the virus, but the circumstances in our lives where maybe we're at odds with people. And so maybe we need to start thinking about the present moment. And how does the present moment and what's happening right now to people, how does that really gel with what you believed was possible? Was it only possible for you? Were you wanting it at the expense of others? So you need to rethink that now, I think. Right now, once the decision is made, swift action is going to be required. We're all going to have to get in alignment with one another. Even that one that's lagging behind a little bit there. We might be at various stages of will. But 8 is about leadership, and it's about it's about a greater level of leadership than maybe just say within the family, where someone finally just everything's a mess. Mom comes in or dad comes in or one of the kids comes in and says, "My God, can we clean this place up?" Somebody takes charge. Well, that's not what this is. When you get to the 8, you're talking about something that's more societal, maybe community-wide, country-wide, worldwide, but you have a different sort of vision so that you can see what's necessary for the greater good. And so once the decision has been made about the new path we need to take together, we need to act swiftly now. People are dying. People are getting sick. This business of governors deciding, oh, it's fine. Your state can stay open. You guys can go to Sunday church. You can go anywhere you want. You can do anything you want. Yes, let's open the beaches. Yes, let's do that. What are you doing? We all had a chance. If we would have done this in February, when it was clear what this was, because it was clear in January what this was, if we had all just shut down in February for a month, 6 weeks even, we might have flattened this thing in this country and we could all go back to our lives. But oh no, 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 no. Instead, he let it get going. And that's what we've got now. So you need to think. You need to realize that the path you had was wrong. It can't sustain any of us because he can't do it. He's unfit. He's incompetent. He's not capable. And some say he's not well. And I happen to believe that, and I happen to believe that his family knew it while he was campaigning, before he was ever elected. So we're going to have to come to terms with that a con was played, right? And things have happened that should not have happened, and it's put our country, it's put the world in a place that we should not be in. But in this profound 22 year, in this cosmic builder, we have the chance for soul to come in and say, you know what, you guys have messed around long enough. Now a little higher thinking is going to have to come in and make you understand the effect of your choices. Now, I didn't choose this guy, but for those that did, they're going to have to understand the effect of their choice because what's happened isn't good. What's happened has turned us into something that is unrecognizable now. Maybe the rest of the world might say, oh, you think it's so unrecognizable? Maybe you should hear our perspective. Yeah. When my kids homeschooled, they didn't homeschool the whole way, but I pulled them out after a point and they homeschooled the rest of the way until they got to college. And they went to college and graduated and all that. But a couple of the history books I had for them, one was from Howard Zinn. Oh, the liberal horror. And it was the People's History of the United States. And history is told in this country from the standpoint of the indigenous people, basically, or the oppressed people, maybe, because it's from both kinds of people were both experiences were reflected. Very different viewpoint than what you traditionally read in school. The other book, I cannot for the life of me think of the guy's name who wrote it, but it was called Lies My Teacher Told Me. And it was history, world history, from the standpoint of the winners, basically. From the winners take the spoils, right? And the winners write the history. No. They shouldn't, because it's not going to be true. And in this book, it basically reinforces what Zinn was talking about how history is told from a white male Eurocentric perspective. And so it's always going to favor the rich, conservative, put their thumb on everybody type of patriarchy. That's what it's going to reflect. And in fact, it does. So you have to step outside of that in order to see it. Now, today's rune is Othala, the 24th rune of the Elder Futhark. And so we're talking higher self energy of a 6 energy here. I'm going to draw this one out. Othala is said to hold all of the essence of the runes in itself. It's the Akashic record. It's home, it's tradition, it's legacy. But here's Othala. And what we have here, it's a combination of Ingus, which is the seed. It's life exploding in all directions, basically. Sudden release of energy. And then it's also Gebo, balanced energy exchange. So you can see putting together, it's basically talking about our Akashic record, our legacy, our family, but the collective aspect of self needs to reimagine itself into what it actually is instead of some patriarchal nonsense that we've all been living under and being oppressed by forever. Now, what you have here, though, interestingly enough, is you have Kenaz, the light of spirit or the torch, in all directions, informing everything, which should tell you that this should not be an ego focus in life, that this should be a one of spirit, remembering that this is spirit inhabiting a body, focusing into this body, creating this body at every given moment, right? Without it, the body would just keel over. So basically, it needs that synergy between the soul and the body for everything to function correctly, right? Well, it does it through spirit, the light of spirit in all directions, informing within, without, above, below, understanding that swift action together in synchronicity. Forgiving this one for being late to the party, that's fine. Maybe he's just taking up the flank, paying attention to what's happening behind him. I don't know. All I'm saying is that swift action is required now in unison with one another so that we can get through what all of this is. Because it's more than a pandemic. This is a spiritual moment for everyone to understand the idea of harmony and shared purpose and letting go of all of the nonsense that has plagued us for so long. Let's look here. Oh, well, we've got in this baby steps, so, lesser fortune, we have Fortuna Minor, the complement of Fortuna Major, which is greater fortune. But this is what the rune looks like. So we're looking at active measures for fire and air, the first two dots, and then the next two double dots. The first one would be water, and the next one would be earth. And so a little bit of flow around emotions, and right here, it's expressed right here in the two, where you can see flow with the water element down there, and how this is flowing back and forth. But active principle on the air, a decision has to be made. So that's air, okay? That's not pentacles, that's air. Decisions are about air. And fire is the will to do it. So it's really there. All of it's there. Just the emphasis is on the pentacles. And then, of course, the water in the background. But when we make that decision, you know, there's your moment of lesser fortune, because it allows us then to progress onward into something different. Now, it's not the end of things, mind you, but it's like baby steps in the right direction. So there you go. That's it. That's it for today, I think. So again, I think that we're seeing a continual progression away from patriarchy and criminality and the con artist in chief and all of that stuff. I think we're beginning to recognize it, and we're moving in the direction of shared purpose and remembering who we are to one another and cherishing that and valuing that. You know, sometimes it takes great loss to make us realize, to reset the course, to reset our perceptions. Sometimes it takes that. I hope the next go around we understand it better, or maybe we don't have to. All I know is that right now we have this movement toward ascended thinking and ascended spirituality. That's really what ascension is all about. There's a physical aspect to it as well, because the planet is increasing or lightening in density, but getting lighter. But basically moving into fourth, and or maybe isn't fourth at this point. I don't know. But third dimension humans are, going to skip a step and go straight to fifth, and basically, we just need a slight tipping point to do that. And I think that we're there, especially, with this cosmic builder year, with this 22 experience year. So I don't know, let's build something new together that resembles who we really are, instead of this weird tension that we all seem to be wanting to live under. Well, some want to live under, not everybody does. A lot of us don't. So anyway. So anyhow, thanks for watching and for coming by. If you haven't clicked subscribe, I'd love you to do that. Also, over on the blog at Stepping Aside, and there's links under here to tell you where to go there. There's a, let's see, I did the esoteric influences for the week. I published them also over on Medium and on Patreon. And let me look, I think I wrote down what I did as far as, there was also another one. Oh, I did a piece on Medium on about cleavers. If you've never seen cleavers before, they are sticky. They're also high water content. They're a wonderful diuretic herb. And so anyway, I published something over there called Cleavers, which talks about how you use cleavers and what they're for and all of that. And I think I also put a tea blend on there as well. So in the same post. So you can see that over there. There's also one on Patreon about reevaluating everything. Sometimes I get in a mood. I don't know. Anyway, that's over there, but you have to be a patron in order to see that one. Not everything over there is patron only. Probably most of it is because I cross post the stuff from Stepping Aside over there sometimes. So depending, and plus I post these videos over there too at times. So I don't know, the balance is probably more public stuff than patron stuff. But eventually I'm just going to do probably tarot readings over there, and maybe some other little things too. But I just really haven't decided. That's part of the whole reevaluating everything nonsense. So anyhow. So get out in your gardens if you have one. If you don't, plant one. can order seeds online. You don't have to go in to buy them. But I'll tell you, there's some seed companies I'm an affiliate for that are, you can find their links below the video if you want to check any of those out. Ferry Morse is one of them. Seeds Now is another one. Great companies to order seeds from. I did some planting. I did some planting of peas, and I transplanted broccoli and cauliflower and bok choy yesterday. So things are starting to get planted here. Not ready for everything though. We're at 3,000 feet above sea level, so that's going to take a little bit. But anyway, we things will go in like the last weekend of May mostly. So so in any event, but I do have greenhouses I can put stuff out in. So but do that. It gets you connected to life, and in a way that sort of gets you outside of time, in a way, outside of that pandemic, the pandemic that's happening, and just gets you connected with Mother Earth, which is what we all need right now. So in any event, thanks so much for watching. Check out the blog, click subscribe here, come back tomorrow, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.